With the Breen seeming to be rearing their ugly helmets once again, Starfleet Command would pour its resources into a new class, the Zenobia Class, to combat the Breen threat. But what do we know about this 25th century starship design? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the Zenobia Class to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, continuing my theme of trying to sell designs, this is another starship class created and kit-bashed into existence by me to tell today's story. I often get asked about the aftermath of the Dominion War and the consequences of its horrific battles. And so, good Trinaries, I thought I'd cover some of those questions here. And I hope you enjoy. But of course and as always, because this is just a beta canon video, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. The Dominion War was over. After arriving at the Cardassian homeworld shortly thereafter, Starfleet Command was surprised to be informed that the Dominion surrendered. After a short ceremony, the Dominion and Cardassia would sign the surrender treaty, officially ending the conflict. As a part of that treaty, the remaining intact Dominion fleet assets were returned to Dominion-held space within the Gamma Quadrant, while limitations on the Dominion fleet and the breeding of Dominion soldiers went into immediate effect. The withdrawal of the Dominion from the Alpha Quadrant went relatively smoothly. The same cannot be said, however, about the Breen. After backing the losing side in the war, the Breen were not happy with the surrender, and in fact at first, the Breen themselves refused to sign the surrender treaty. Had the Allies not agreed to certain provisions within that treaty, a state of war would have been continued until either side was defeated. Very little was known about the Breen, as no diplomatic envoys ever returned from entering their space. No one even knew what a Breen looked like, as their specially designed refrigeration suits would vaporize a dead Breen rather than even letting a body fall into someone else's hands. But what the Federation Council did know was that the Breen fleet was surprisingly immense, and the Breen as a whole were relentless in both tactics and ingenuity. And the Federation Council also knew that its citizens were very war-weary, tired of the endless battles, while the Klingon fleet would continue fighting till the last of its warriors were killed in battle. The Klingon Empire's assets were at an all-time low, with the Romulan Star Empire in an even worse shape than the Klingons. And so, all around, peace was a good idea. Besides, the Breen's terms were rather simple, that they would take their fleet assets and head back into their own space, where they agreed to remain without incident. No oversight by any allies were to occur, though all three governments could monitor and patrol the border of Breen space to ensure no Breen vessel ever crossed the border. Given the far distance of Breen space, the Federation and the Romulan Empire both agreed to the Breen's terms, with the Klingon Empire quickly following suit. And a task force of Federation, Klingon, and Romulan starships would be sent to the Breen border to begin patrolling the now bottled-up Breen Confederacy, a simple end to a complex conflict that had seen almost 2 billion lives lost. As the years went on, the Dominion War became a distant memory. Many changes would happen to the once allied governments. The Romulan Star Empire would withdraw all of its assets from the Breen border in 2383, recalling them back to Romulan space to deal with the Romulan supernova crisis, while the Klingon Empire would begin to refocus its assets and goals to finding new enemies to conquer at the borders of the Delta and Gamma quadrants. And although they never fully withdrew their assets from the Breen border, by the early 25th century, their remaining starships were woefully old and out of date. As for Starfleet Command, they also had seemingly lost interest in the Breen, leaving but a few of their older starships to work with the remaining Klingon vessels to keep the integrity of the Breen border. But in 2405, that would all change. Caught completely off guard, the Federation Klingon Task Force would be ambushed at Starbase Deep Space 16, with 12 of the 17 starships destroyed and the starbase badly damaged. The arrival of a Federation task force led by Captain 7 of 9 of the Federation flagship USS Enterprise would quickly put an end to the sneak attack, but almost immediately the entire Federation would hold its breath while the Federation Council investigated the incident, wondering if another war was on the horizon. Through Captain 7, the Breen Confederacy would claim that the attack was done by a rogue faction of terrorists, not sanctioned by the ruling government. And with no real evidence to the contrary, the Federation Council would officially support that Breen position, but in secret, the reality was quite different. Ordering Starfleet Command to immediately make the Breen border one of its priorities, the organization would take one of its in-development starship designs, modify it specifically for the Breen threat, and after a push in construction, in 2406, the Zenobia Class would be born and sent to the Breen border. Sitting at a length of 469.2 meters, the Zenobia Class was designed to be operated by 402 officers and crew members. Based on a mix of Excelsior II class and Borg Reclamation starship design lineage, the Zenobia Class would be both warp and transwarp capable. A tri-nacelle design, the Zenobia Class would have a standard safe cruising speed of warp factor 8.7, with an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 9.9 for 48-hour increments. And alternatively, the Zenobia Class would have a transwarp safe cruising speed of 10 to the third power, though thanks again to its tri-nacelle design, the transwarp tunnel energy could be increased slightly, giving this class a slight edge over dual nacelle designs of the era. Tactically, the Zenobia Class was well armed for a class its size, containing both the newly developed phaser emitter arrays, as well as 6 torpedo launching systems, 4 forward and 2 aft, capable of launching a variety of projectile weaponry, including photon, quantum, and even transphasic torpedoes. Shielding for the Zenobia Class would be modified from its original configuration. Believing the Breen Confederacy might attempt to use an energy-dampening weapon similar to the one used during the Dominion War, the Zenobia class's shields would include an outer layer of chronodynamic energy, which in concert with the specially designed protective fields located around the class's primary systems, would in theory protect the ship from such a devastating Breen weapon. The Zenobia class would also contain a large shuttle bay complex in the aft section of the primary hull, which included all the latest auxiliary spacecraft that Starfleet Command had to offer. By the latter part of 2406, 14 vessels of the Zenobia class had been built and sent to the Breen border, with most of those starships conducting their shakedown cruises right there near Breen space. This was a tactical move done by Starfleet Command to show the strength of the Federation to the Breen, to make them think twice about attacking the Federation again should they be harboring any thoughts to do so. Over the next decade, the Zenobia class would prove itself an excellent tactical starship design, engaging and overcoming not only several skirmishes at the border, but a variety of non-Breen related issues. So impressive was her record that Starfleet Command would continue to build, upgrade, and deploy the Zenobia class over the next 60 years, before finally deciding to decommission the class in the latter part of the 25th century. Created to counter the Breen threat, the Zenobia class would become a symbol of triumph throughout the United Federation of Planets, earning this class its valiant place in Starfleet history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the Zenobia class and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel learn as much as it can about the Breen and their Confederacy? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron. Both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching!